Whoa, wait a minute. I'm testing some random stuff and part of it got me trapped behind this gate, right? But ready, I got a plan. You guys ready for this? I'm free! It never occurred to me, because I'm pretty sure this switch is in the same spot, right? It never occurred to me that when I was first implementing the chests and stuff that I could just go to the other side of the wall and interact it like this. And no one brought it up in the comments, so I don't know, man. Maybe it's not just me not paying attention. But yeah, so I guess one of the things I'm gonna want to do is have a direction check, which is a pretty simple concept, right? I can just grab the player that's interacting with it, which is the first player of the party, and check their facing state. So to interact with this switch, I just want to make it so that they're facing upward, like that. Cool. Hey fellas, what's happening? I'm gonna make a video here, I think. I'm still very much in the middle of this. Yeah, I'm still very much in the middle of this, but I'm working on controls for like cutscenes and stuff so that, you know, I can have a proper intro to the game and I can give story context and that sense of progression when you trigger these scenes. Stuff like that. I've mapped out a lot of the areas and I can work on gameplay stuff very soon, such as filling out the item content, the command content, and the class content and all of that stuff. But I wanted to have a go at this because it's something I always leave till very late, and it's often something I do pretty poorly. So I'm going to have a good go at it now. So I'm going to clear one of these files, and I'm going to start another one. As I discussed on the previous episode here, I'm not actually meant to be able to change the name. I got on Henez anyway. But yeah, I can't change the class. Yeah, as I discussed on the previous episode, I talked about how through the tutorial you'd kind of have this hero class that you can't really get rid of. He's gonna serve as the focal point of the story and kind of guide you through the tutorial sections of the game, essentially. So you'll probably be pretty limited in what you can do, and it will suggest to you like a recommended setup or something like that. I haven't thought too much about that. But after you begin, we get the fade out, and then we go straight to a text box here, testing first scene. I'm going to hit it. Now, it's pretty quick. For playing this video, I probably should have sped it up, but there was a slight amount of timing there, half a second pause before the next dialogue triggers here, which is the second one. I progress it again, very short delay, fade opens up, another short delay, final text box here, and I exit that and I can move around. Now here you can see I'm alone with this kind of new character that I've made, and I should be stuck in prison, right? But I pointed out this issue which I haven't addressed. I'll do that a bit later, I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, this is one of the big things I'm working on, as well as the scene setting, is the ability to have party members be disabled. Now it's very much in progress. If I go to the menu here, you can actually see all of them are laid out, which isn't intended. You're meant to recover these characters kind of one by one so you can be eased into the combat. If I go ahead and enable combat and walk, you'll see there was an exclamation mark in a bit of a weird spot, which I'll explain in a second. This is what a battle looks like with only one party member. What I probably will do is, the smaller your party is, the more centered they are. So if you had a lone person, like I've just got Henez here, he'd probably be, you know, in the middle here. I was actually pointing it out with my finger, but you can't really see the finger, can you? You can also see that I've still got these repeated text boxes which are meant to help you determine who has a turn ready and flick between them. That's probably obsolete if I only have one active party member. Yeah, and as it is now, this is going to be a very long fight. I guess I'll be back in a sec. It's going to be a close one, boys, here. We're getting low. Is this it? Is this the final hit? Oh, it's not. Woo, I win. Not even close, baby. Well, XP applying looks okay. See, that's wrong right there. The invisible characters shouldn't be leveling up. That probably means they're gaining experience. Yeah, they're all level 4. So that's still very much a work in progress. If a character's disabled, I'm going to get another battle so I don't wipe. If a character's disabled, it should have no presence on the world, as it does. That also means removing their collision box, because technically if a bunch of invisible people are following me and their collision boxes are still active, stuff like interacting with this wouldn't have worked because they would have lined up like in an L like that, and it would have obscured that. And then it's just lots of minor drawing things. The leveling up pop-up, there was an exclamation mark up here, ding, when I was down here, ding, when they got into a encounter. And the reason why it was there is because when I move and they're disabled, they're actually not leaving their original position. So technically they're all stacked up invisible on this location right here with their collision boxes moved outside of the scene pretty much. Working on this stuff's important for the scene I want to do, because what will happen is you'll only have the first non-story character. He will be like the dude you control right at the start, and then this guy kind of busts in, breaks you out, talks to you, tells you where you're going to go, and then he becomes the party lead, and you've got your little follower and you go through the prison, rescue the rest of them probably. Something like that. So that's what I've been working on. But so far I'm pretty happy with how I've sequenced all of it. I'll briefly show you the scene code, kind of what a scene looks like. So it's an object exactly the same as the way commands are structured. They're basically like a script that plays out. Now, one thing I really dislike about GameMaker Studio 1.4, and I don't remember if this extends to modern languages like C# or whatever, but enumerators are always global statics, whereas I thought you could actually have enumerators contained in classes in other languages, but I'm not sure, I don't remember. So what I've had to do is basically use my own little enumerator format here, where I just do all caps, and you know, with GameMaker they're very light on IntelliSense, so something like this could be very prone to like typos or whatever. But if I'm going to have complicated scenes, I want to make it as easy as I can tracking how far we've progressed through it. So I really want the variables to be named rather than just a number, and that's different from how commands work. Commands, I just use a number and I'm kind of just relying on memory, and sometimes I have to reread it to understand the progression better. But I've tried to make it easier for myself here, and it's just a big bunch of if-else that check against what scene we're up to. And I've got some standardized controls, like tick scene handles these standardized delays that happen before the scene starts. So when the object's created, there's no delay right here. You'll instantly get here, and then there's no dialogue active, so that means we're ready for the text. If a dialogue has multiple text boxes but we don't want any delay between them, I don't want to have a scene for each dialogue text box, I can just check that one isn't active and have this object continually listening for when it gets its opportunity to place itself in. And if there is no dialogue active, we can check against the standard timer, and then we can do a bunch of, this is like the control body before we move on to the next scene. So what we're doing in the very start of this scene, when the object's created, which is when we've accepted our party and the screen has faded down, that's when this object comes into play. Firstly, we position the camera on the player, because when a scene starts, the camera changes so that it won't follow the player. It doesn't have to do this, but in this object case it does. So I want to make sure that at the start of the scene the camera's where I want it to be. And then I go and disable indexes 1 through to 4 of the party, which is every single one except for our hero at index 0. I also change the way dialogue draws so that it draws over the fading animation, because technically we're at the end of a close fade for the duration of the scene until later on I trigger the fade in by creating this object. And that's just so, yeah, I can have dialogue over or under it. I set the active dialogue to be the 0th dialogue in my scene dialogue here, in which I have 3 of, 0, 1, and 2, which is the text you saw, bing, bing, bing. I could, you know, add more text to each dialogue object, but the one that main uses to draw the dialogue and has all the controls, that relies on me providing an object that has this dialogue variable. Yeah, and then I simply talk to this object as though it were an NPC. Easy peasy. I progress through. More scene controls I need are an easy way to move characters around, you know, move the party around. I don't foresee too much trouble with that. I'm quite happy with how I've got this going. Yeah, I suppose that's it. It's been a while since I showed code, so there you go, you got some, huh? I'll probably check in again soon with another episode in how I did. getting the scene stuff together, and there's a few little miscellaneous stuff that I've done over the last few weeks that I'll probably show off, you know, so I can maybe get a little bit ahead in my video schedule. Cool, thanks guys, peace.